Hi everyone, this is Paula here, ScrapFX. I just wanted to show you a project that I'm working on at the moment, and I'm just going to show it through you in bits and pieces. I'm not going to show the whole lot because it is going to take a wee while, so I'm just going to film little wee bits of it so you can see the process. So I'm making a couple of altered torsos. I picked up these paper mache torsos from Spotlight here in Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm wanting to decorate them. So I've started off with just the blank torso, and we'll show you how I am altering it. So be back in just a minute. So here's the torso that I've started on. It's paper mache. It is solid all the way around, and the first thing I did was I wanted to test what the paper would look like on it, because I'm actually using a old New Testament Psalms book that I picked up at my local op shop. So I've just torn some of the pages out of it and then ripped them into pieces, and that's what I'm using to cover my torso. But I wasn't sure whether I needed paint underneath the paper or not. So on the base, because I knew it wouldn't be seen, I actually did a test using gesso underneath, and I tested both the Psalms book and also a dictionary to see which looked better. And I've gone with the Psalms because you could actually see through a little bit more of the craft paper underneath. So this is a good idea. If you're not sure what something's going to look like and it has got a base like this, then by all means test so you know what it's going to look like, and then you can pick what you're doing. So because of this test, I decided that I didn't need to do the paint, so I haven't gessoed underneath it. I'm just going directly onto the dress form. Now I'm using a mix that I found on Pinterest, which is Elmer's glue, and we can pick that up here at Warehouse Stationery, or Spotlight I think have it as well. And I've mixed this 50% glue, 50% water, and I have put that just into a jar that I picked up at the supermarket. It's got the rubber seal, so I could quite happily shake it up and not have the water go everywhere. And I did actually test that to make sure that it was watertight before I did that. I bought 2 jars just in case. So I'm just going to show you a couple of pieces of what I'm doing here so you can see how it goes on to the dress form. So I've started up here so far, but we'll carry on. What I'm doing is I'm just using an old paintbrush and just painting onto the dress form. Hopefully you can see that clear enough. Just a bit of glue, and you can, because it dries quite slowly, it's like a just a very thin paste. You can actually do quite an area of it. Whoops, sorry about that, kicked the tripod. And then using just one thin piece of paper, you can stick that on, and I'm just overlapping them slightly. You have to bear with me, I'm a righty here. And then I also go over the top, very much like a decoupage, to make sure that that paper is well and truly stuck in place. And I'm covering, you know, just a little bit, doing it sort of a methodical area, making sure that all the paper is well and truly stuck down. And I'm making sure that the paper is up the right way, but it may go on sort of one or either angle, rather than just all being exactly the same way up. So there we are, sticking it down, just making sure that all edges are stuck down, and trying to get rid of any air bubbles as well, so that they don't finish on don't show through on the outer coat, because I am actually going to put something on over the top to embellish it and decorate it, but just in certain parts of it. I'm not going to cover the whole thing again, so you will see some of this paper, which is why I am being reasonably careful in terms of how I put it on. So I'm just doing the front of the torso first, and then I'll go back and do the back half. So I'll just put another couple of pieces on here so you can see I'm putting on, covering a reasonable area there. Just sticking on one, and because it is so fine you do need to be careful that you're only picking up one piece of paper. It is a little bit harder going over some of the bends like this, but it doesn't matter if you get creases in there. All sort of adds to the look, but the key thing is to make sure that it's flat as possible, and the creases will form that shape around the torso. And it doesn't, whether you're doing a torso or you could be doing like a letter for instance, or maybe you're doing your Christmas reindeers that you want to do something similar with, as long as you just go around the shape and make the paper fit the shape, then you will be fine. So there you go, so you can see how it's looking. And then once it's all finished I'll show you again and we'll come back. Thanks! So just the last little wee bit on the back of the torso to finish now, except for the bit around the neck, but I wanted to leave that until last and everything was dry because I've actually been using that as a bit of a handle. So we're just putting the last of the adhesive on, and it's spread really well, and I'm really liking the mix with water. It's not drying too quickly, nice and fluid, it doesn't seem to be too thick, so I will definitely be trying that mix again. So that is equal parts of Elmer's glue, and I just use the 118 mils or the 4 fluid ounces, and then emptied that into my jar and topped up with exactly the same amount of water. So been quite generous here with the glue, and occasionally you just need to rearrange your bits of paper because they won't fit. I'll just have to stick another piece down there, not the end of the world. And I think I probably tore out about maybe 50 or 60 pages from this book of Psalms. I wasn't sure how much I would need, and I've probably got just a little bit left over, so I didn't need quite this much, but that gives me plenty for either my next project or if I just want to fill in any patches once I've finished. So hopefully my hand's not in the way too much there. So again, just filling in any blanks. I'm trying to do this left-handed, which is not that easy because I'm a righty for most things, but that way you can see a bit better what we're doing. Oops, sorry, I just knocked the camera then. So they are glued over all of that, making sure that you go over all the edges so you've got plenty of paste to hold things down. One there, and I make sure that I go right onto the pages or the bits where I'm overlapping as well, just to make sure those edges are really sealed down. And then this glue, because I'm putting it over the top, very much like a decoupage paste, will make sure that everything stays nice and sealed, ready for the next step. So now hopefully that one is going to be long enough. Yep, oops, 2 there. It's a problem, it's so fine that you can't always tell when you've got 1 or 2 pieces of paper. Right, so that is all of that finished except for the top bit right up the very top, but for now I will leave that to dry. I'm guessing it might take an hour or 2 just to fill up the last of it, because where I started off first in the front and up the top is actually feeling quite dry already, and certainly that's the 2 bits down the bottom, that was the first bits I tried on. They're perfectly dry. So yeah, I'll probably leave that for a good couple of hours, maybe even overnight, before I go on to the next step.